So here we have my sheet where I've already done one color. I did the Winsor Blue red shade down to the New Gamboge, and I gently mixed them on the paper. You can see all the different hues between the two shades, and that's what you want to do. You don't want to over mix it. It made a really pretty forest green. So you make a puddle of one color, and that one's a little bit too wet, but we're going to go with it. And you clean your brush completely so that you're not picking up colors and mixing them in your palette. Let me move the paper here so you can see it a little bit better. We take a puddle of the Cobalt-Blue. Then we're going to rinse and clean off our brush again completely so that you have fresh color between the two when you work between the two. And then with your clean damp brush, you're going to go back and mix the two. So you're not adding more color at the same time you're trying to mix them. Now these two didn't mix as well. You can see I have to pull on it a little bit to get the color to slide. It's just the kind of pigment that it is. It does make kind of a brownie green. I'm not sure if brownie is a word in that context. So I'm cleaning my brush really well and picking up more pigment. I'm going to go ahead and connect these. It doesn't matter whether you connect them or not. You just want to make sure that your mixed colors don't bleed together. I just thought it would look pretty if I would connect them. So we're going to jump down into the Cerulean Blue down here. Cerulean Blue is very similar to the Cobalt-Blue in color. They have different properties for your different kinds of paints. Once again, I'm cleaning my brush completely off screen here because I want to make sure that I'm working with the color I intend to work with. So there's that Cerulean Blue in a nice wet puddle. It's a little bit too wet. A lot of my paints are always a little bit on the too wet side, just because that's the way I tend to work with it. And clean damp brush again to pick up and start blending the two colors together. You can see it makes a really pretty sea green as opposed to the brown green that we got with the Cobalt-Blue. So even though the colors themselves looked very similar, the results are a little bit on the different side. So again, cleaning my brush really, really well. So when I make my next set of paint, I'm not mixing colors before they get on the paper. So here's some more of that New Gamboge again. New Gamboge is an interesting color. It's got a wide range to it. It can go from that dark brown there to a really almost light, completely yellow. It's got a lot of variety in it. And some granularity. You can see it's got some tiny little specks in it that gives it just a little bit more texture. I'm cleaning my brush really well again, and then I'm going to pick up some of that cobalt green. When I rinse my brush, I swish it in the rinse water a bunch of times. Then I damp it off on my towel to see if it's coming out clean, my hand towel. And then I go back with the clean water and give it another rinse, and then damp it off on the towel again, so that my brush is very clean and damp. I'm going to mix these two colors together, pulling from one side to the other. And on one side I want a little bit more of one color, and on the other side a little bit more of the other color. So you can get the full range of colors that you can make between the two. And this one even went to even more of a sea green here. And it's a much smoother sea green than the one above it. So now I'm running out of space on my paper, so I got to be careful they don't run together. I'm gonna give it a try anyway because I can. We're going to make it work. So I clean my brush really, really well, pick up some of the pigment, for the new gamboge here. Go ahead and put that in. And I'm going to tap them together just so I think it'll look pretty. Let's clean my brush really, really well again. Pick up some of that hooker green, which is a really bright green. The sap green tends to have a blue tint to it. Hooker green is more of a natural green. I'm going to go back and clean my brush again because I don't want to have too much green on my brush when I go to try to pull that new gamboge down. Otherwise you'll overmix one color than the other color. Now the hooker green kind of took over the new gamboge there. Notice how it just kind of like made the new gamboge disappear. So I'm going to try adding a little bit more new gamboge just to see if I can get more hues between the two. And see, yeah, you can get a little bit more. But it does seem to make a very lighter green version of the hooker green. And you, again, don't overmix on your paper. You just want to pull it and be done with it. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the Hansa Yellow Light, which is a bright, bright yellow. It's also known as lemon yellow. So cleaning off my brush again between each individual dot and everything I do on this paper. Okay, now they automatically touched each other, and that's okay. Notice that the Hansa Yellow Light was a lot wetter than the new gamboge, and so it's naturally flowing from one to the other. Your paint will always flow from the wetter area toward the drier area. And so that just made a much lighter version of the new gamboge, which is okay. It didn't really seem to have much effect. I'm going to go ahead and finish my painting here, and we'll come back and you can see what it looks like in the pictures in the tutorial.